Welcome to the summit. Who are you? From the head to the heart. And Moni Vangolen is here. Hi.
Hi. Thank you.
Welcome. And I'm excited to introduce you. You are, you've been a spiritual seeker, you could say, in your life, and you happened to stumble upon Eckhart Tolle, and then you were lost, lost and found. But yeah, your journey, I don't know much about it, but where you are at now is also what I'm most interested in. And can you tell me a little bit about the heart and how you found your heart and what does it mean?
That's a beautiful question. Well, just like all of us, our heart, my heart has always been here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't getting much attention, even though it was calling to me many, many times. And I love what you said. I stumbled across Eckhart, which is, it's true. I was not a spiritual seeker before that. In fact, I had very little interest because of my family background. My father was a spiritual teacher, and I had zero interest in anything like that. But I had a lot of suffering, and like a lot of suffering. And then, yeah, it was actually through my love of meditation. So I loved to meditate, and I still do. That's how I was first introduced to Eckhart in like at a private gathering. And I got really excited hearing that he was going to host this. Like, this was in 1998. So he had just recently published The Power of Now, like in 1997.
Yeah.
And was holding very small gatherings in Vancouver. So nobody knew him. And I had been invited through a friend because I heard Eckhart was going to give a meditation. And my heart just went, oh, it lit up.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go and be part of this meditation. I had read parts of The Power of Now, but I hadn't read the whole book. I had it beside my bed. And so when I was sleeping, it was there.
Yeah.
And so that love of meditation is what brought me to him. And a very instant recognition of the stillness within.
Oh, instant.
Yeah, it was, the suffering had been so strong, and the longing for peace and quiet, and what I knew was possible, like another way. I knew another way was possible. I just didn't know what it was and how to get to it. And I was holding a very strong intention a few months actually before I met him. It was quite funny. I was holding an intention for a quantum leap in consciousness.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know how that came to me, but it did. So that came, and then quite soon meeting him, but I didn't put it together until years later, like a lot of things with all of us. You know, we have things that happen, and then later the wisdom arises, or the puzzle pieces, we see how they fit together. But in the moment, I didn't know. I just knew I was following my heart. So following that love.
Yeah.
And something happened in that meeting. There was such a strong connection.
A connection of
With
what?
Eckhart, there was something that, and I was not seeking a teacher. I had zero interest in that. But it was the quiet, the stillness that called me, that pulled to me. And I experienced that instantly with him. So of course, I, in my innocence, I assumed it was him. And but that was perfect, because I was able to continue following my heart. So I attended everything that he was offering at the time. So his public meetings, and I went to private meetings and small meetings and everything. That's what my heart was longing for. And there was no stopping that. So that's how the journey back to the heart began. And that went on for quite a few years, going everywhere he went and being in his energy field. So being in that field of this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that field, I know some people just resonate something that we just, they have something about them, and there's some connection. And but it's ourselves, right, that actually have that. And for some reason, some people can better, or it seems like they may evoke something, or they may, yeah, I don't know. It feels like they are actually doing something, but that's not what's really happening, right? It's just you're opening your own heart, basically.
Yeah, that's it. It's that recognition of this consciousness that we already are, this awakened presence that we already are. It recognizes itself through what seems to be the other. It knows itself, like there's something that happens in that meeting because it lights up. It says, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
There's a poem, maybe you know it, by this beautiful Sufi magician, master poet, Hafiz.
Yeah, Hafiz.
Yeah. And he describes our true nature. So he says his true nature, but our true nature. I am a hole in a flute through which the Christ's breath moves. Listen to that music. Listen to the music of silence, of that stillness, of this Christ consciousness, this fully awakened consciousness, to listen to this. And that we are the empty space, like that vast spaciousness. So I was, curious, just like you, how is it that some people we meet, some energy fields, because essentially that's what we are, how is it that some seem tiny, like some, the whole seems tiny, but some just seem bigger than the universe. Like, how is that possible? Like, what is that? How does that show itself? So what I've come to realize is that we are all infinite spaciousness. So we are all this infinite whole in a flute. And we just have a little bit of dust, a little bit of, like little gunk. So call it conditioning, or call it, whatever it is, like what we think about who we are, our misunderstandings, our beliefs, ideas, concepts, all of that. That's what fills the hole. That's what prevents this infinite space, this infinite light from shining through. And as soon as we're willing to just look at it, like just look, like meet it. And even though I said gunk, and usually gunk has the reputation of, let's get rid of that or push that away. But if we actually bring it into our heart, like we truly meet it with unconditional love. So the essence of the heart, unconditional love, for no reason at all, just because it is. So it's like a complete turnaround from how we were taught, how we were trained. Most of us weren't raised by enlightened parents. Most of us, probably the vast majority of us, we didn't have enlightened teachers at school, like when we were at kindergarten or in our school years, or we didn't have an enlightened neighbor or relative. Most of us, I'm going to say all of us, maybe. And at some point, if we all do what we came here to do, so maybe the next generation or the generation after, they will sit together and they'll say, hey, was anybody here raised without an enlightened parent? So that's our job. That's our job, to liberate all of this conditioning that keeps us seeming small, being a small hole in this flute, or not being able to hear this sound of the Christ's breath moving. So this profound stillness. I'm just going with Hafiz. For some, the voice may be the voice of the Divine Mother, or for some it may be Buddha. So not to just put it into like a particular religion. So whatever that infinite voice sounds like, so that we can hear it clearly. I feel like I've wandered away from a question.
Oh no, not at
Maybe
all.
not. Okay.
I'm just taking it all in.
Start talking about the heart and everything kind of just like,
Yeah, yeah. Because it is everything, right?
yes, yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful what you're saying. I'm just like, it's like a massage. And I really resonate also with what you say about the conditioning. It's all that we learned, and not that there's anything wrong in learning. We need to learn to survive on Earth, but it's just that we somehow get lost in the head of knowing, and we think that's who we are and the beliefs and ideas, and that's we kind of overdo the head kind of, and forget who we really are, that all embracing love, or peace. So it's like we have to kind of remind ourselves, this is who I am. And
yeah, it seems like a retraining, like we are learning, being re-educated. And it's, well, it's a beautiful process. And when we have that heart's longing for the truth, like when it comes to that, when that becomes our top priority, so maybe the suffering gets so intense that this priority rises to the top. Because for most of us, there's other priorities, right? So until this comes so strongly, no, I want nothing but the truth. The truth, and this is like with a capital T, the truth is all I want. No matter what that means, no matter what. And then the conditioning will come, the thought as a thought. Well, what if you die? Or what if you end up homeless? That's what used to come to me a lot, right? If you go for the truth, you're going to end up on the street, or you're going to end up, without any family or without any friends. So that was just my own conditioning that I had to see and meet. And in the face of that, I said, well, if that's what happens, then so be it. If I lose everything that I've been clinging onto, then so be it. I'm here for the truth. And that changes something. It's like having a very strong intention. It was like that intention that had come to me, a quantum shift in consciousness. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I want the truth. No more fairy tales or fantasies or stories. I am done. And it literally, it opened. It opened.
Yeah.
So that is that's the foundation. Wanting and what we may not, everyone of course has their own beautiful words. So mine were the truth. It could be the heart, or it could be spaciousness or stillness, more than anything else, more than everything else. And that becomes our guide, or our guidance.
Yeah.
So we can see then when something else tries to go into that number one place, we recognize that, yes, okay. So this has come for love. So in our conditioned education, so our new education is the education of the unconditioned. So before we had the conditioned education, and we were taught, if something is bad, push it away, like so-called bad, right? Push it away, get rid of it, or turn away from it, and if something is good, hold on to it, right? So now we're also being able to hold all of it spaciously. So we're not clinging or grasping, and we're not pushing. So then we meet this conditioning. There's something old, and usually it doesn't feel that great, but we meet it with, it's like we run toward it with a wide open heart and open arms, and with a loving embrace, like genuinely willing, maybe for the first time, to meet it, to be with it, not to think it, not to try and think our way through something, but to actually rest with it and encircle it or surround it or embrace it with this pure consciousness. It's like shining the light of consciousness. So on the fear, for example, when fear arises, when fear says, no, I'm more important than the truth, then it's like, hello.
Yeah.
And feeling it. So when we go out of that thinking mode, we come into the body through feeling. So we can just feel the raw energy of it. And even maybe initially it presented as fear. So if we even just remove that label and allow it to be, like allow this, just this raw energy to be here. So without, like without a judgment about it, or without a preference about it, or without any kind of opinions about it, that, and really just feel it, and feel it through the innocence. Like if we were just kindergarten children, like that open innocence, that curiosity that doesn't have a preconceived idea. Like in Zen Buddhism, they call it beginner's mind. So if we just open to this and stay relaxed, so the relaxed light, the relaxed love.
Yeah.
And just
That's
breathe.
very, like, yeah, the rest, because there's nothing really to do, right? You just being what you already are, without all the clutter or whatever, you know.
That's a great word, clutter, just cluttered up. Yeah. So without the clutter, decluttered.
Yeah. Although it may never really be possible to declutter, like we can probably declutter forever if it's up to the mind.
Right.
There's always be like, there's more. It's almost like we can look through it. We can look through the false self, or the what our mind tells us, and the conditioning and all that, the ideas, the beliefs. The light can look through that and see
Yes.
it for what it is, and still let it be there. But
Yes, that's it. Exactly. And so going back to the Hafiz's hole in a flute, so we see it, and just in that seeing, and exactly as you're saying, the allowing it, the letting it be there, it begins to transform, it begins to dissolve, and it naturally just falls off, it falls away. Not because we're pushing at it or forcing it, or nothing like that. It's like looking through the eyes of love. So we just look at this that has been trapped. It has been held from, a time because we didn't have that enlightened guidance. So something arose, external, a situation, a person, something was said or done, and we didn't have that inner wisdom when we were young, like very young, and we didn't have an enlightened being guiding us. So we tried to push it away somewhere, or we went into our mind, we tried to think our way through it. But for most, it gets pushed down somewhere. And that's what happens. Things just keep getting pushed down, and the body doesn't do so well. And when an opening happens, then all of these old energies that were unloved because we didn't know how, they start coming to the surface. So it's like they go, oh, she's here. She can meet me. Okay. And then it's like there's a lineup, right? Everybody's knocking on the door. Please let me come in. Let me see
yeah,
this look of love. Because it's the love that transforms it, the pure love. And when we're willing to see that within ourselves, through the feeling, the letting it be, the not pushing, the not running, the not band-aiding or running into an addiction. And, Eckhart says the number one addiction on this planet is thinking.
thinking, yeah.
Thinking, that's the addiction.
Mm.
So even to be conscious of that addiction, and you said right at the beginning, the overdoing, the overthinking.
Yeah.
So this allowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's where meditation, for example, can have its place, is that you kind of learn to maybe not attend all these thoughts all the time, but rather attend your true nature. Yeah, you break the habit a little bit, and but the
Yes.
thoughts will always, I mean, there'll always be thoughts, right?
Yes, of course.
And there's nothing wrong with thoughts either. It's just that
No.
we don't need to identify with them, right? We just let them be there, but we don't have to identify with them as being us. And uh, yeah.
Well, it's like this thinking is like an app. So we have many apps. We don't have just, it's not the operating system, and we don't have just one app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is one app, and we need it, but we need it to be well rested and fully functioning. Like we need it to be bright and clear and alert, not exhausted, not, run down and limping. We need it that it can, but we need it for, specific things. We don't need it to be running all the time. So that's the re-education.
Yeah. And we also have a tendency to, the thoughts that we always have and that are broadcasting, it seems like we make that our person, and we completely forget about the heart. But by opening the heart, it's like all that is seen through, and then life is more alive, or you're more, it's almost like there's this big space where you can breathe, or rest, relax, and just not all that fear, right? It seems like the fear also goes away a lot that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that your experience?
Exactly. Yeah. It's so beautiful the way you're sharing this experience of being. So the brightness and the quiet, the inner quiet, and this kind of sense of infinite space, like so much space and so quiet. It's like when we rise above the noise,
Yeah.
how quiet.
Yeah, it could, then it's, if you're really there, or there, not that you can go there, but if you're attending to that and spending your time there, you could say, then it also allows for all the noise, but it's not bothered by the noise.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And same with whatever. So you mentioned fear. So most of us are run by fear until we like it runs constantly in the background. So until we start like turning to meet it, until we start allowing it in. Because fear has such a bad reputation, right? It's like, okay, keep the fear away, do anything to get rid of the fear,
Yeah.
which none of it works until we're willing to actually sit with it like a dear old friend and just sit with it, not think through it. It's like, when we're with our beloveds and we give them our complete undivided attention.
Yeah.
Complete undivided attention. And they know what that feels like. That feels like being loved. We're not distracted. We're not thinking of other things while they're speaking. We're not trying to, come up with something to say. We're just here, listening, receiving, like meeting. And so the same is true. And, if we're distracted, they feel it. And they may feel it as, I'm not as important as, her thoughts, or something else. But when we give this our complete attention, another being, or whatever we're with, like whatever we're doing, or whatever, you know, a tree being, or like the roses, they feel that, they receive that pure love, because that is pure love, complete undivided attention. So not divided by being wandering in thoughts, like being absent. So the same with meeting whatever arises. So we meet this fear as if we love it, as if we love it already. And that changes it. So we meet what arises as if we already love it. So that is the shining the light of consciousness on it.
Yeah, because we already do that anyways. We may not just not be aware of it, right? But we are already welcoming it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I really like how you express it. It's very, yeah. But what about if people want to get in touch with you? You have a website they can, and you have sessions and retreats and events.
Yep.
Good, good.
Yeah. Do you want me to say any of that, or will you?
Yeah. Please mention your website and yeah, a little bit about what you offer.
Okay, thank you. So my website is my name, monivangolen.com. And at the moment, I'm currently offering a weekly Wednesday evening stillness meeting from 7 till 8:30 Pacific time, Zoom, of course. And every 2 weeks, I'm offering a stillness meeting for women Monday mornings. And that one is also translated in Spanish. When I used to travel, one of the places I went quite a lot was to Spain and also to England. So we have, our group is from 4 countries, Canada, the US, and Spain and England. And then I'm also offering stillness retreats. And I'm finding more and more that people are drawn to long periods of just silence. So we quite often begin with a guided silent sitting. And then we have another sitting of just silence. And then there'll be some sharing afterwards, whether it's from me or from anyone in the group as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds beautiful. Like the heart of silence. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love that that's where the draw is now, that everyone has heard the words through many different beings, like numerous times. Like we've had the words and we've read everything, which is beautiful. The teachings, the written teachings, the verbal teachings, they're just glorious. And we have it, it's in. So now the sitting with it, like the sitting in silence, so that we can listen in this depth of stillness, that we can listen within to our own inner guru, like that inner intelligence, the inner pure wisdom. Someone recently said to me that they heard we have a mutual love of words and how words are created. And she said, the word guru, when you look at it, it's G, you are you. G, you are you.
Yeah.
So you are the guru. Because it's, look, it says it in the word. You are you.
Yeah. and that's it. It's like ourselves, and we just, yeah, listen. I like the word listen. What is it that is within you that you can know or not know or whatever? But it's like, yeah, listen to yourself. This, you have all the wisdom.
Yes, it's already here, already awakened presence, already.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Moni. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me and being with everyone. So beautiful.